419-115-3594. I'll say it again. 419-115-3594. Do whatever you please with these numbers. As we live in the uncertainty of the future, so many out there have lost the passion in their work. And with that, motivation soon follows and leaves people in a place where they cannot move forward and exceed in their own lives. This has been very prevalent because of the recent pandemic that has put a pause on everyone's life. This has an enormous effect on students. All over the world, students have lost the passion to learn, to interact, and have acquired social anxiety. This leads to procrastination. Procrastination is a student's best friend. So many have lack of motivation and procrastination, which is an unhealthy cycle that can lead to mental illnesses like depression and anxiety in their later years. So, how many of you struggle to get out of the bed in the morning? I do. How many of you struggle to wake up with your alarm set in intervals of 5 or even 2 minutes? I do. So, how about the numbers that I gave you? The numbers that I listed in the beginning. How many of you remember those numbers? Not many, right? Did I present the numbers to you in a way that you would want to remember them? No, I didn't. I didn't give you a reason, a drive, a motivation to remember those numbers. But I'm sure there's some of you in the audience that when you heard those numbers, a part of your brain lit up and asked the question, why did she list those random numbers? A part of your brain starts analyzing, looking for answers in these numbers, repeating it over and over, and then you stored it in your east and your west wing. What I mean by east and west wing, I'm going to separate the brain into 4 parts. The frontal, where you keep the immediate knowledge like breathing, eating, talking. Then you have your west and your east. This is where you keep the knowledge you want to save for a later date or time, like what you're going to eat next, what you need to do to prepare for the test tomorrow, or a doctor's appointment you have 2 Thursdays in the future. And then you have the posterior. This is where you send thoughts that you're tired of thinking of or you can't think of any longer. So when you're doing homework or you're studying and you come across this really hard problem that you just can't solve or a concept that you just can't grasp, so you take a break and you walk away. You take a nap, you eat a snack, or you go for a jog. While you're focusing on something else, you're sending that discarded thought to the posterior where it thinks about it. And then when you come back to that problem or that something you just can't quite get, you have an answer, or it's easier to understand. When you think of memory, most people think of it as writing something down in a book, closing the book, and putting it in a bookshelf. It's like a library. But memory isn't like that. Memory is like a massive spider web, strings of recollection across thousands of neurons. When you pair a certain action with something you want to remember, when you do that motion again, it'll help you remember it. This is a great way to remember things and to get the motivation to do things again. But there's a problem. The problem is if you don't want to remember things anymore, if you don't have a drive. That's what I don't have. That's what I lack to having this strong brain structure. I don't have the drive to want to remember things. And this leads to procrastination. So, relive with me. You're in lower elementary, and you just got home after a long day of school. You come home, you take off your backpack, take off your shoes, you eat a snack, and then you're ready to go play. Even I still do that. And then your mother stops you, and she asks, do you have any homework? And then you instantly remember the homework that your teacher gave you right before you left. And you're filled with instant sadness and disdain for the homework sitting in your backpack. Imagine you live with your mother in your head all the time. I do. The sadness and disdain is pretty frequent. So, now I'll give you an example. This is a story. There's a boat on the water with no waves, no wind, and no sail. This boat needs to get to this wall in a certain amount of time. And this boat can't move. There's no wind to push it, no sail to catch the wind, no waves to push it further. You really need to get to this wall. And as time goes by, the boat doesn't move. gets maybe a small wave that puts it a little bit further, but it's not moving. And then, all of a sudden, the mother comes scaling up the back of the wall, takes a turbo motor 5000, throws it at the back of the boat, and the boat goes flying into the wall. This sudden charge of motivation is motivation driven by panic. You were given a deadline, and when you get too close to this deadline, panic starts arising, and you get this motivation that's like caffeine. You get, or a sugar high, you get a lot of energy, and then you crash. That's what happens with the boat when you crash into the wall. You become exhausted after pulling an all-nighter writing a 250 essay that's due the next day. So, as you know in the story, the boat is procrastination. Can't move forward, can't move backward, can't go anywhere. The wall is a deadline. And with this, there's problems. And this can lead to bad sleep cycles. This can lead to lack of energy, lack of motivation. But I didn't come here just to tell you all these problems. I came to give a solution. And the solution is to give up. As crazy as that might sound, when you give up, you're letting yourself know, I can't do this yet. I need to stop what I'm doing and I need to look at this again. By giving up and then trying again, that's where you can really make more progress instead of working the same thing over and over and over. So when you give up and you say, I can't do this, I don't want to do this, then you can come up with a way to solve this. The way I solved this problem was motion. Motion creates emotion. When I had to come back to school after Christmas break, I didn't want to. I had no motivation to go to school, to do work again. I just wanted to stay home, do nothing. But since I had to go to school, because we all have to, when I got here to school, I would walk around the classroom. Every morning, I would pace around the classroom in circles. I would walk while thinking and talking. By walking, I was going through a mental map of my own brain, going through what's due today, what's due tomorrow, what's due next week. I was going through the list of importance. What do I need to do first, second, third, fourth, fifth, on and on like that. And by walking around in circles, focusing on not tripping on the table legs and not falling flat on my face, I was sending these thoughts that I didn't want to think about to the posterior. I would think about it, come up with a solution. Even dancing in the shower is a way to help you remember things and to want to do things again. Because when you're dancing in the shower to your favorite song or practicing your favorite dance, you can still be thinking. You can still have those amazing shower thoughts that you forget about 5 minutes later. And when your brain is no longer just a pile of spaghetti that doesn't want to move, you can regain motivation. Thank you.